Garbage! Call me Captain Obvious, but at this point, we're all too familiar with the cheap plastic garbage that gets pumped out these days. You go to the store and you purchase something to keep your kid quiet for 10 minutes on Christmas, only to throw it in the bin a few months afterwards. However, what if giant companies churn out something destined for the landfill, but ends up being a decent piece of gear? Introducing the Kawasaki Kids Keyboard. Is this something that will stand out from the pile of garbage made for kids? Let's find out. But guys, before we get into it, just real quick, please smite the sub button, hit the notification, and please hit that dislike button because we can't see it anyway. So, if you didn't notice, I'm just a tad bit under the weather. I don't even know why I need to do that. I watch YouTube videos and they're like, oh, I'm sorry, I'm under the weather, so the audio is gonna be all horrible. And I'm watching it and going, huh? Like, if they hadn't said anything, like, I would have never noticed. But maybe that's just me. Honestly, I feel pretty fine. So needless to say, this thing weighs nothing. You got your fake speakers up here. You got 2 speakers over on each end. You got your Kawasaki logo. Up here, you have your recording buttons. Then you can change the tempo. Then you have certain demo selections, as well as like a keynote variation, I guess. You have audio effects like vibrato and an echo, which is pretty cool. You have different types of drum loops. On the center line here, you have your sounds. And on the bottom line here, you have your rhythms. Up here, you have your volume, and then you have your reset, I guess, for your recording. Up top here, you have your cat, dog, frog, and bird functions. Essentials, as well as your animals and your whistle button. Cosmetically, this thing is rather gunked. I think this is some sort of jam that is wedged in between the buttons there. Not to mention the fact that you also have buck teeth in the middle here. Totally not musical. Each key is numbered. So you have 7, and then it goes back to 1. But the black keys aren't numbered. So they just forgot about them, or was it too much to just put a number in between the spaces here? I don't know, maybe kids would get confused and therefore we just shouldn't teach them how to properly learn instruments, I guess. I don't know. All right, on the back here, we have nothing. Whoa, kids' toys. Another thing I should point out is that this thing has no ports whatsoever. It has nothing for audio, nothing for power. It's just completely sealed off to the outside world so that a kid cannot get anywhere in it. So we're gonna have to take it apart and see if we can get this guy going. Of course, like many kids' toys, this thing is built tougher than a tank, as you have a trillion screws. Oh, okay. Not a whole lot going on inside this guy, that's for sure. You only have 1 speaker. They give you an option for 2 and they only put 1 in. Oh my goodness, how cheap. Come on. Did this thing just die already? Not that it had a long life to begin with. Wake up. Okay. All right. Batteries are good. Because this thing doesn't have an output, I'm gonna put the microphone here. Okay, so I can push down 2 notes at a time. Hey, it's better than 1. Man, you actually have some pretty nice sounds on here. And you have your vibrato and echo. The echo is more like a sustain as you play it. What about the vibrato? Oh, nice. So then you have your rhythms. Oh. Ew, so it seems like all the rhythms have a set chord and bass function built in their own key. That's pretty bad. Okay, you have your record scratch. So you have your tempo. Okay, so you have your drum sounds. Oh, and I guess you switch between drum set to animals. Cat, dog, frog, and bird. Then you have your whistle. I was not expecting it to do that. Why would they put that on a kid's toy? That's a little weird. Okay. So, so that's the thing. As fun as that was, it's a real bummer that everything's trapped within this thing and I cannot record this. What I want to see if I could do is try to jerry-rig it so I could put an output on here instead of using the speakers and see if I could record something with it. So if I could take this guy off and instead of using the speaker, I'll just put on some sort of an output if I could find something. So let me see what I can find. So I found this garbagey computer monitor, also made in China, so you know, thought it was fitting. Let me see if I can use the cord and just plug this in. And I know that's gonna be really, really cheap, but we're gonna try this. Come on, come on. There we go, that wasn't too hard. I'm not entirely sure. I think this might be some sort of a ground. That's probably important. I'm gonna ignore that for now and see if I could put these two together. And yeah, we're gonna go from there. Okay, I don't know if you can see this, but this looks sketchy as anything. Yeah, if this works, I'm gonna be surprised. Wow. Nice, I can't believe this works. Okay, that's awesome. Let me go through these sounds with a bit more clarity. So you have your piano, which I was just playing. You have your organ. Mandolin. Music box. Trumpet. Guitar. Violin. Bell. Let's try the trumpet with the vibrato. In my opinion, this sounds pretty awesome. What I think I'm gonna do is just try to come up with a jam using these sounds and just see if I can make something good. All right, so after a little bit of work, I created a little ballad using only the Kawasaki Kids Keyboard. It's definitely a bop. I used some effects which were basically Ableton stock plugins, but beyond that, everything, all the sounds that I've used or only from the Kawasaki keyboard. So let's hit it. Kawasaki Kids Keyboard, in my opinion, actually doesn't sound too bad. I think you could actually make some pretty good stuff with this. Mostly, in my mind, mostly lo-fi video game music, but hey, that's pretty cool. Granted, you're talking bottom of the barrel. I think I found a listing for like $27 on eBay for one of these things, which I find that to be $25 over what I would spend. Most people, especially music junkies that I know of, prefer older models, like from the 80s. And let's take a look at some of the comparisons and see how they add up to the Kawasaki Kids Keyboard. If you compare the Kawasaki to a similar model built in the 80s, here we have a Yamaha PSS 100. This one is similar because you don't have an output, you just have a port for your power. But it takes batteries as well, and you have it turn it on, only has one speaker. So in some ways it's very similar, but at the same time, this one has onboard effects. So you have your vibrato and echo. This one doesn't have any other effects. It just has like a sustain. So it's kind of similar to this, which is quite surprising, especially since this thing costs like $100, I think, back in the 80s. Another one I can kind of compare the Kawasaki to is the Yamaha PSS 170. In that you have your one speaker and your bunch of different sounds. But this one also, you have sustain, vibrato, portamento. So you also have effects on this one that you don't have here. And needless to say, playing this guy, trying to make sure that whenever you press a key, you actually hear a note, is like a random chance kind of thing. This one's built so much nicer. It just has a better quality sound and actually has an output for you. While the Kawasaki, in my opinion, pales in comparison to these keyboards that were made back then with better quality, it is amazing how stuff like this is so much more affordable to us nowadays. Despite the quality degrading horrendously compared to what things used to be made out of back then, it's amazing with the advancements in technology how much you can do with just a little bit of money. And yes, the quality of this thing is abysmal, but you can still make music with this. It's the way society is nowadays. We just have to shuffle through the garbage until we find something good. The Kawasaki Kids Keyboard surprised me with what it had to offer, and so therefore I can think of a very fitting place that this belongs. Well guys, that's gonna do it for me. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the future. Stay awesome.